everybody, and welcome to the Modern Fairy Sightings podcast. I'm Jo Hickey Hall, and with me this time is my guest, Willa. Willa is from Australia originally and has been living in Zürich, Switzerland for a long time now. And the encounter that you're going to be talking about with me actually took place in Spain, in a rural part just outside Barcelona. So, really a warm welcome to you, Willa, and thanks for getting in touch.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much.
Because when you first contacted me, I remember your words in your email were you're speaking to people that have had fairy experiences. Are you serious?
hmm
And
That,
yeah, how was that for you to get in touch?
um, oh God, it was difficult, really. I had this experience and it had been playing in my mind, and I thought, have other people had similar experiences? So I started looking on the internet. Um, and I eventually found you, and that's when I reached out and I wanted to be absolutely certain because I mean this was an unusual experience, to say the least. And then you confirmed, and so we arranged to meet, and here we are.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk a little about how that all came about when you were visiting your friends in Spain?
Certainly. It's a beautiful area, very rugged, part of the Spanish countryside, and we were there visiting, and they have this quite a marvelous house, but not far from there, there is a like a spiral made from stone, I think, gravel, and there were three trees. Um, One morning when I was out sort of walking towards sort of around the area, I came across these three trees, and there in the trees were, I really don't know what to call them. I think I've said in the email that they were like forest spirits. Um, Three of them. They seemed to be in the tree or part of the tree, and I could see them somehow sensing me. Um, I, I, I did not feel concerned or scared, or which was unusual. And naturally, I was debating whether I was really seeing something myself. But the image persisted, and it must have lasted, I guess, nearly a minute. Um, I was regarding them, they were regarding me, and then it seemed like they folded back into the tree. Um, then it was over, and still wasn't feeling very emotionally upset about it because I'll be honest, I'm quite a skeptical person, and this was really my first encounter with something like this. So I started to doubt myself naturally. Um, how often do you have visual hallucinations or anything like that that are persistent? And so I went back and I told my friends, and their reaction was interesting. Um, they had said other people had encountered things in this area, not exactly the same as what I had, but other things in this forest around that area. And they'd lived there or had basically been on and off there for 40 or 50 years. They're an older couple. Um, and essentially, I'd had to investigate this when I came back home. And I really didn't quite know what to make of it, honestly. I mean, you start thinking whether you have health concerns or eyesight problems and things like that, whether, do you have something, a tumor growing in your brain or something like that? Because, and I must admit, I haven't had any problems since or anything vaguely like that. So it seems like it was I don't know, something in the coffee or I really saw something. So uh,
Mhm.
I don't really know how to process it. I think I saw forest spirits. That's how I think I framed it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, can you talk me through what? led up to that moment when, so you talked about a spiral. Can you describe that too?
Yeah, it's like an old stone spiral in the ground. Um, I think it was I think it had been there a while. I spoke to the friend that's there. Um, I think they said it was there and had done nothing with it. It looked like it had been a place of some sort. Um, I I don't know if that's true or not. I'm interpreting that as true. I don't have any reason to believe otherwise, but it does sound odd.
Mm.
Um, like this, all of the cliches you could imagine lining up, but
Uh,
there it was. Yeah,
was it an ancient, do you mean a kind of ancient
I
formation?
would never
Or
say it was, but it doesn't look ancient. It's not. I don't think. I think it's been there maybe. I don't know what's ancient. It's certainly not thousands of years, but definitely hundreds of years, I'd say. I mean, it's maybe even, I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that properly,
yeah,
honestly. Yeah.
okay.
It didn't feel ancient. The trees were not massively big. They were quite smallish. Um, they looked to be no more than, I guess, 20 or 30 years old. They weren't like massive trees. Um, but they were certainly somehow part of this environment there.
So, in walking into the environment, did you walk around the spiral?
No, like an idiot, I walked right through it. Swoosh.
Okay. So it's like it was on the ground, kind of marked out on the ground, like you might find sometimes there's a labyrinth. You might find labyrinth markations, and then but it was so it's at ground level.
On ground level, it's English and German, comprised of stone,
Mm,
uh, like a white black, but it wasn't like in good condition.
mm,
It was really more a hint of a spiral than a than something definite and modern or anything like that.
yeah. And then you reach these three trees,
Mm.
and how were they kind of formed? Were they?
Um, one was on. Oh God, okay, now I've got to see it in my mind. One was on the outer side. One was as you came forward to the right, but not in the center, and one was nearly at the center, but not really at the center of the
Yeah.
spiral. Yeah, it was more or less off to the left slightly. So it was kind of like a dog leg, back the front dog leg or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, so the trees were actually within the spiral formation.
One was on the edge, one was, and two were in it. I don't know if you, I mean, it's not like you followed the trees into the spiral. It
Mm.
was, they were just sort of, there didn't seem to be a pattern.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow.
Mm.
And and so at what point did you notice these beings? Did you notice them straight away, or was it were you
Straight
in
away,
the
pretty
tree?
well straight away. I was coming up towards and I noticed something moving in the trees. And as I got closer, I was looking at it and mm, it, this area and there in the trees were these they were, mm, um, they were clearly not human um, faces. They were not human faces. The eyes were not like you could see color or anything. They were dark, and faces were, I suppose, oval shaped, and the bodies were dark and forming part of the tree. It's not like it's not like you're seeing a movie representation or something like that. This was, I don't really know how to describe it now. Uh, like a an idea of a human, I guess.
Yeah. And what kind of size were they?
Um, Smaller than me. Oh God, I'm 5'2".
Right.
Uh, these look like small humans. Well, you would say a small human shape.
Mm.
I mean, the trees were not very big either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, they, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I was just wondering how many of them you estimate that there might have been in the trees.
Oh, three. Definitely three.
Oh, so there was one in each tree.
There was one in each tree.
Oh, amazing. Wow. Okay.
This was yeah. What it was like yeah. Three. I don't know what should we call these?
What would you like to call them?
They're um. I'm a bit of a loss, and it's difficult to speak about because I mean here I am talking about it publicly, really for the first time in a sense. Forest spirits.
I think that's a great name for them.
Um, and there was one per tree. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes, you know, we come up with a name for them, but it's almost like they kind of give you that name in some ways because you're the person that's had the experience,
Hmm.
you know, and it's what you come away with is is significant because you're the person that has had that encounter with them. So,
Tree spirit, maybe then. Tree spirit.
mm,
Uh, yes, that feels right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what kind of trees they were at all?
No, I do not.
I'm not familiar with the
I have no botanical knowledge at all. I'm
no,
sorry.
I wouldn't know very much over
I
there.
could probably find out.
Yeah, you probably could because it's
I'm
do you
still in
know-
contact with my friends. Actually, I see her tonight.
oh
Yeah.
amazing. Right, okay. Well, there we go. Maybe you can
I can find out what they are and
uh,
then email you.
yeah, because obviously that location is still there. Are the trees and the location still standing? Is this a place that will be a kind of protected area?
Yeah, retired now. She moves between Zurich and
Mm,
uh, she is back today and we see each other.
mm,
Uh, I believe this is where she will retire fully.
mhm. In
Um,
Zurich or in, or
so I imagine this is going to be there a while. I can probably even find a picture of it for you.
is it on her land?
Yes,
Okay. Wow.
yeah.
Right. Because when you talked about other people seeing them,
There
I
were
assumed
visitors
it was
who
public.
visited. Yeah, there were visitors.
Oh, magnificent. And do you know how long that has been in her family then?
I can find out.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be really great to know more about that place.
Sure.
And I wonder who is it is it being passed down through the family or is it did they buy it from local people at some point?
They bought it from local people at a certain point.
Mhm.
Um, I know they've had it for quite a while, and they were both professionals, and they used to do courses there
Right.
of different types. They
Yeah.
were medical professionals.
Wow. Okay. Oh goodness. That's so interesting. So not the type of people that you would expect to, potentially have something like that going on in their garden, actually.
Um,
Although I guess what they're doing, you could argue, is very otherworldly. I mean, I don't know exactly what they're doing, but
Professional medical personnel. You occasionally they had other doctors there as well that would come to these places as well, and
yeah,
so it's quite. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, you've got people there that I don't know want to heal other people.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
uh, yeah,
right. So as you approached the trees, what was happening for you? Were you on your own or were you with,
I was on my own.
yeah, so what was happening for you as you,
Okay, it was relatively early in the morning. I was collecting my thoughts. I did not want to go into the kitchen because it would have been noisy and I would have died to have had a coffee.
Mm,
So I was basically out enjoying the morning, just walking along. I mean, it's late spring. It's coolish in the morning. It's beautiful weather. Um, uh, there's plenty of animals, birds, etc. It's not like midsummer where you have this morning chorus of birds screaming everywhere. It was a bit quieter than that. Um, I probably was just sort of lost in my thoughts, and I noticed as I came upon the trees that there were these things in the trees. So yeah.
And you mentioned that you had eye contact with them. So internally, kind of how was that? Was there a sudden moment that you realized you were gazing at each other?
Um, I guess what was interesting for me was that I did not have any fear.
Mm.
And I wasn't feeling threatened. It's not like I felt a weird calmness over myself or anything like that. I just did not, I was not frightened or I was not worried. I looked there, I saw it. Uh, Having done some observational training in the past, I checked myself to make sure I was really seeing what I thought I was seeing. The image persistence, it was there. You look away, you look back, it's still there. Um, I noticed that there was one there, and one there. And I thought we had eye contact, not that you could see eyes, but you could see like dark shapes where the eyes might be. Um, yeah. And that persisted, oh God, certainly for 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And then, as I said before, they seemed to turn on themselves back into the tree. And it was like whatever it was became part of the tree again.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, sorry,
Um,
go ahead.
it's not like there was high or anything like that. It was like looking, staring at each other over the gap or something like that. It was more like, it was really like just acknowledging in some way. I felt that I was seen, and I certainly saw tree spirits. Mm.
It's really interesting, the kind of the being seen, actually.
Yes.
And I can really feel that.
Mm. There was no sound, no words, nothing, no feelings of thoughts or anything like that. There was no. It was really like, I don't know what the right word is. Uh, you see someone across. You see someone. You're at a train station, for example, and you see someone maybe you know it across the other side, and you make eye contact. And yeah,
Did you have a sense of familiarity with these beings?
not at all. Absolutely not at all. I mean, I'm actually quite a boring, skeptical person in many cases. So this was quite a um, quite an experience for me.
The
Yeah.
best witness, then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, what do you, if you look back, what was going on in your life at the time? Do you feel, I mean, you may have seen, some of the chats that we've had here before, and yeah, I'm just interested to learn, whether there were, you know, whether there's anything kind of transformational going on in your life at the time, or any shifts that would have made sense in terms of seeing them at this particular point in your life.
That is a good question. I don't think there was. I don't think there was anything special happening at the time in my life. Um, I was 61. I'm now have recently turned 64 and I've recently retired.
Mm.
Um, Maybe there was some, I don't know. I mean, at the age of 61, thinking about retirement is probably something that's on people's minds. So I guess maybe yeah, I guess, but I would be guessing. I don't think there was really anything, to be totally honest.
Yeah, and it's fine to guess as well, because it's not quite immediately clear.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm wondering also what your relationship with nature, was and is.
Mm. Oh, okay, yeah, I love nature. I love being out in nature. I my partner worries about me at times because I don't even like to kill ants. I mean, we live in an older house in Zurich, and it has, I suppose, when spring comes, the ants start to get a little bit excited, and they come in through the cracks, and so you have sometimes an ant um, infestation. Um, And normally, what people do is spray them. I don't. I make a little bridge for them to climb out to the window so they can fly away. And when they breed and all of that. And so I'm a bit of an animal lover and a nature lover. So yeah,
That feels significant.
yeah. Maybe that was it. I mean, it was kind of yeah. mm, I would be guessing though. Yeah, I think maybe because I do feel very at home in nature.
Yeah. Yeah. And was this a place that you had visited before? Was that your first
Mhm.
time there?
First time, my
First time.
first time there. I knew they had the place, but
Yeah.
it wasn't the situation to go there before. Yeah.
Mm. So, how did you feel afterwards when this happened? Did you immediately go to tell your friend, or did you have to kind of
Um,
think on it for a while?
From what I remember, I think I was when I went back to them, I was a little bit tight-lipped, and they knew something
Yeah.
had happened, I think. And I guess that this is an experience that they'd had before with other friends and things like that. And I think they may have suspected what was coming.
Yeah.
And so when I said, I need to tell you something, I see the smile. It's like I know I think I know what's going to happen, and so I told her, and so she listened very politely, and then she said, you're not the first that something like that has happened to. I guess it's not exactly the same as what other people have experienced, or even in the same spot. But I guess it is maybe not a regular occurrence, but certainly something that's happened every now and then there. So yeah. So
Yeah.
I was though, from my perspective, I was like sort of a bit buzzy,
Yeah.
wanting to talk about it, but not want to talk about it because I mean this was a truly odd experience.
Right. What did it mean for you, having seen something that you didn't think was possible?
Okay. Excuse me. This is my cold. Um, it meant for me now that I've thought about it a while, I mean, with my relatively scientific and sort of very skeptical worldview, um, and for the fact that I'm sort of like not dying from a brain tumor, um, uh, there possibly is a little bit more to the universe than what we see and experience. And looking at was on what other things have happened on your on said on your podcast, and seeing other things on the internet where I mean, uh, there are people having these experiences all the time, it would seem.
Mm.
Um, I don't really know what that means. I am unsure about that. It seems the clear-cut, dry view that we have of the world probably isn't the best fit. Um, oh, yeah, I think that would probably best describe it. It seems to be that there's more to this than we believe, and that is a hard admission. Mm, yeah.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Um,
It is. It is.
so in terms of seeing these beings, what would that suggest, even if we don't have evidence for something, but more of a kind of feeling response? What
Mm.
does it feel like is going on to you, having had that experience?
I mean, it's taken me a while, kind of, to get to this point in a way. I mean, you have this experience, and it makes you question things. It makes you question a lot of stuff, and you have to reevaluate and look at certain things, and you get to the point where you either can reject it or accept it. And I've taken the part where I accept it. I've got no other explanation for what I saw. I don't really even know what I saw. Um, I can tell you what it looks like, and I can tell you what it might be from legend and myth and things like that. But really, I only know that because I looked into this now,
Right.
and it was a powerful experience, but it wasn't frightening or anything like that. It wasn't earth-shattering. It was like being presented with a I don't know. It must have been what people were like when they saw the first black swans. Suddenly, all their ideas had shattered. There was evidence of something different, and you can either reject it or accept it. And I'm at the point now of accepting it. There was something. I can't explain what it was. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel anything from them? So I know you didn't feel fear,
No, no.
and I
Um,
recognize that in my own experiences as well.
oh,
Mating doesn't bring fear, but did you feel anything, any emotional response within yourself from them or any kind of emotion?
wariness.
Right.
Um, I'm, you know,
Them looking at you, they were wary.
I felt so.
Yeah.
If I could describe, mm, tentative, there was kind of like an expectation, I feel. Mm. Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds like it could possibly be that emotion, tentative. Um, yeah, it's like an expectation of something, but and I'm really guessing there. I know I was unsure of my own emotions in this regard, but if I could pinpoint something, probably tentativeness.
Mhm.
That is even a right word.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, I can totally understand that. And I'm thinking about I don't know if you've heard the episode, which I think is episode 2, Call to the Other World,
Mm.
but it was a real similar thing for her, and that she
I
saw,
will listen to that again.
yeah, have a listen to that because in the same way, my guest kind of she saw a being in a tree, and it was a little brown skinned being with a little face. And these well, I'll let you listen to it anyway, but she said the same. It was a kind of moment. She didn't
Yeah.
expect to see her, and yeah, there's kind of a similar quality, and of course the fact that it was in a tree. So if you're 5'2" and these were quite little, how would you estimate their height? I know you can't be too sure, but just to kind of guess.
Okay. It was like you were seeing more or less really only the top half of these beings. There were like mm, arms and a neck and a head and an upper torso.
Right.
Um, if I imagine if let me think. The trees were, I'm mm, meter and a half,
Hmm.
maybe 4.5 feet, 5 feet, 4.5 feet, smaller than me, certainly. I
Yeah.
guess if I guess maybe it would have come to here. I'm really
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to estimate because it was not sort of like standing fully out in the open. It was part of the tree.
Yeah. So it's really quite amazing to hear that they were part of the trees. They're kind of reaching out from being, I guess, part of the trunk.
Hmm.
Um, and with it being early in the morning as well, it's quite interesting. So you've kind of got the early morning,
Hmm.
so the beginning of the day. You've also got the beginning of spring when, this is a real rich time. The sap is rising in the trees. Everything's coming back to life. I know it's slightly different in Spain. I'm sure they probably start their season slightly earlier there, don't they? But it's still springtime that everything's coming.
It was spring. It probably, I'm guessing between 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning. I mean, I didn't really write down the time.
Hmm.
Um, I believe it was late spring. Um, and there was certainly that vibrancy in the air that you have at that time of year. The promise, this promise of a beautiful warm day, a promise of things growing and things like that, lazy noises of animals and birds and insects and things.
Oh,
Nothing, no real mechanical sounds from machinery or anything like that. It was very country-ish,
yeah.
as you would imagine, um, in this particular area. Um, yeah.
It sounds like, it was really speaking to you at that moment when you were there,
Mm.
that you were kind of filled with the richness of
Mhm.
that
It's
moment there.
idyllic. It's an idyllic place, really. I mean, this is
Mm,
if you're going to go on holiday in the country, I mean, this is the place. So yeah, idyllic.
gorgeous. So I'm wondering, in what if you don't mind talking about it, what what your career was and whether that has anything to do with nature. And I'm wondering whether you've been called to work with nature in some way in your retirement.
Well, that's a very interesting point that you're making.
Okay.
Okay, I was an IT person, and it surprised a lot of people. A lot of people thought I would go into music or art or something like that. I nevertheless, because I had a mathematical bent, fell into the informatic uh, career and basically did that most of my life. Um, I suppose the other, and what comes to mind now, I came from a very religious family, um, and after my sister passed away, I rejected most of that. So maybe there's some calling there. I know at the time, I do when I can voluntary work for a homeless shelter. There is a homeless shelter here in Switzerland run by uh, man. Oh, he's now passed away, but he was Father Siba, means Father Siba, and he was a person who helped the homeless. And so it was probably around this time where I felt a strong calling to help. I saw I'd seen this man in Zurich. It was winter, and he was sleeping rough in the city. He had no socks or anything like that. He was in plastic bags and things there. And like an idiot, I ran to buy him socks and without any knowledge or foreknowledge of what to do.
Okay.
I guess, he sensed this and took off, knowing that someone was probably going to come to the rescue with a pair of socks and some gloves or something like that. And so when I came home that day, I immediately made contact with what we have in Zurich here is a group called SIP, which is Sicherheit, Intervention und Prävention, and that is security, intervention, and prevention. And they're an arm of the police department that keeps aware of these people that are on the edges. And they recommended to me making contact with Farasiba, and that's more or less how it started. And it was probably around this time.
Gosh.
Yeah. And so before that, and probably leading up to that time. So they're probably, and that actually, yeah, and sort of to answer your question, sorry, I'm going around.
That's okay. Yeah.
Um, there was like a calling in myself for this,
Wow.
um, to uh, lend a hand for the obdaclaws and the homeless. Uh,
Thank you for doing what you're doing. Really, thank you. Because it's just, I mean,
no,
I live in Bristol and the situation here is just so, yeah, it's just so
oh,
devastating. And I know it's the same everywhere.
yeah. And it seems sometimes. I mean, it seems sometimes they're so hard that you can't do anything. And we have, fortunately, people like the Fara Siba group, and they lend a hand to anybody. Basically, they have a place where they have, it's called the Fusbus, or the foot bus. You can come to it on foot. And it's a place where in winter you can sleep. And they give food and they give a place to sleep. So if you're homeless, you can go to this place. You don't have to sleep out in the cold in winter.
Yeah.
And it's I've worked in the kitchen there. I've done overnights there for them. I've cooked there for them. It's you can in the morning they get a breakfast as well. Yeah,
It's fantastic. So you mentioned about your response initially was that you wanted to go and rush off and buy him
yeah, yeah.
socks.
Not the right thing to do.
But
Yeah.
what is the right thing to do? So we,
Let the experts or the people who have known make contact first, because there's in some cases, what I've learned since then is that there are people who don't want to go even into a place
yeah,
like Siva, and you've got
sure.
to respect that.
Yeah,
You and one of these, I mean, for one reason, whether it was drugs or alcohol or just a simple, uh, paranoia because of some, I don't know, difference that this person has. They really don't want to be fussed over, or they just really want to be away from everyone. They don't want to be in the forest like some of them do. Um, they just don't want to be part of society, and you have to help them the way they need to be helped, which may be letting them control the contact, um, and which is that is the way it is, and this works, and this helps these people as best as what's good for them. Yeah.
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 That's so important to know. I know for here, some people don't want to go in, because they might have been attacked in places before, and then they just do
Yeah.
not want to go back there, even if it's a completely different space. Or sometimes they have perhaps a dog with them,
Mhm.
something, and that's their companion, and they
Yeah.
can't take the dog into shelters. So, it's just a no-go for them as well. So there are always lots of different reasons. Um, I tend to, ask people if they want anything to eat, and I'll go and buy them a meal or something if I see people. And you just never know, what the best thing to do is. So I really appreciate you sharing that information, that it's just,
Yeah. There are people out there. I mean, at Far Siba, I mean, you can come with a pet. You can come with your
oh, that's
animal.
really good.
The only requirement is that it cannot get into fights.
Mm,
You have to make sure that it doesn't. I mean, and they're not. It's not like they're going to throw you out or anything like that. I mean, they wouldn't do that. They're nice people.
mm.
But yeah, so you can do it. But what the biggest thing is, leave it to the people that are really are experts on this. And yeah, I've learned a lot, and
Yeah,
I've met some very nice people. Um,
you have.
and it was like a calling in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that really interesting because here you've got these kind of edges, the edge of the day, you're at the threshold of the day, as I said, and this kind of burst through of springtime, and it's at the end of you're retiring, you've had your career, and maybe kind of returning to something that was more meaningful to you because as you say, you have this calling to help people again on the kind of margins.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
they're not inhabiting the world that most of us inhabit. They are on the edges, and they need our love, they need our support in a way that is right for them. And you're able to understand that. So I feel like there's something really significant about that somehow.
Mm. It could be. It would make sense. It would make sense. Yes.
And also the reflection of you talking about being seen, and it feels something around that for these people who also, they need to be seen, because often people will just pretend they're not there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. what was interesting, Joe, is um, you often see people, homeless people, unless you actually know them from being in a shelter. You go and help them, you cook, or you overnight there and sort of keep them company and all of that. You might meet someone in the street one day, and you realize that they're actually a homeless person, and you would just not know from looking at them. And this happened once when my partner and I were in the city. One of the homeless people recognized me and started talking, and we started chatting and all of that. And my partner remarked afterwards that you would not know that that was a homeless person. And it could be people in the street. It could be people you're just passing. For some reason or another, they've fell through the cracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. It really is. We have
Yeah.
no idea what goes on in people's lives, do we?
No, not really. Not really. No. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, that's brilliant that you're doing that.
I can actually send a photo of me at when I was cooking there one day. It was during COVID, and we had to wear masks, but it's definitely me.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Because we have a big problem here too.
Yeah.
That there's just, not enough support, but there are lots of people like yourself who are out there, trying to make it better, speaking to people that are on the streets. It's definitely a world now where people do slip through the cracks, and it's very
Yeah.
invisible, the things that people are going through because of, how difficult it is to be in the world at this time. Um,
It seems to be, yes.
yeah, that, people are very near the edges of, losing their homes. Free.
They are, as someone recently said, many people, much more than in the past, are one paycheck away from being homeless.
Yeah.
And that's actually quite worrying.
Yeah. I
Mm.
think, because the safety nets are now just being removed.
Mhm.
But what does come through is that there are kind of grassroots groups
Mhm.
that are run by people for the people.
Yes.
And I feel that those kind of groups, and I'm sure I've said this before, those kind of groups don't get defunded because they are, you know, by the people.
Yeah.
So
Who
they're
cares?
less likely to fall away. Exactly. Yeah. But that's really good to know that the local police are, working in such a great way to aid.
They're the Swiss people are very good people. I mean, they're often seen as, very rule following and everything like that, but they're not. They're not. You've got lots of very good, caring people. I mean, they even vote for their own tax increases at times. It's quite astonishing, and but you will find that they're aware of the homeless people that are in their area and keeping an eye on them so that there's no acts of violence and things like that. I think it's a very caring society. Um, and there are naturally those who are more, mm, excuse my language, economically focused.
Yeah.
I think that's the right word. Yeah. And consequently, they want to push away whatever programs they are and rely purely on the goodwill of people. But the SIP is a section of the police department here of people who are trained for this. They have knowledge of this. I don't know how big the department is, but it seems to be people who give, what's the right word? Give a damn. They care.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, we need that here too.
Yeah.
Feel like there are lots of people who care, but um, and there are still groups that are partially funded, but that more and more they're just falling away. I mean, just like month to month, they're falling away. And I'm not aware of a similar kind of program run by, the police here. So that's very interesting and great to hear that it is happening
Hmm.
there and that it could work in other places too.
I think it could. I mean, you don't, I don't think you have to have a very big, it's not, I don't think it needs to be a very big organization, but I think it needs to be staffed by people who know. I
Yeah.
think they have to be trained, well trained. It would be to say the difference between a normal police officer and say a well-trained FBI agent, where you've got someone who has a degree in this and education in this and education in that. It seems to be like there's not thousands of them there, but the ones that are there are well informed of what to do, and maybe require something like that rather than a massive organization.
Mm, it's
Mm.
inspiring. Yeah,
Mm.
really inspiring.
That's my opinion anyway. So I don't know if that's true. I'm not an expert in that area. So yeah.
So, thinking back to your experience then, I'm wondering if you are planning to go back there at any point.
I am. I'm going back there in October.
Okay. So you've gone in spring,
Mhm.
well, late spring, when this is kind of late spring is kind of reaching around the time of Beltane as well. Uh,
Yes, yes.
I wonder if you could find out when you were there before, if you found out the date you were there before.
Oh, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. Yeah.
So you're going in October. So when abouts in October are you going?
Or I think it's the 5th of October.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that would be that would be great for you to be there again and see how it feels this time. Do you plan to kind of go there with any intention to this place, this spot?
There is certainly a part in the back of my mind there where I will go one morning by myself to this place again to see if I have the same experience. That is certainly part of my plan, um, because it was a very profound experience for me. Yes, there is, to answer your question very shortly, yes, I do. You know,
Great.
it's certainly in the back of my mind. Um, yeah.
Do you think you might, do you have any idea of what you might do when you get there? Or in terms of, did you have an idea that you wanted to leave an offering? Or it sounds like you're a musician of some kind then, or
Um,
music.
my hobby is music. I have actually have I recently had what's called a guitar. This is a Renaissance, pre-Renaissance, early middle
Beautiful. Wow.
medieval instrument.
Yeah, handmade by the looks of it.
It is. Yes, it is. There's a luthier in the UK, Joe DiSeppo, who
Wow.
made that for me.
Wow.
On the wall here, I've got a classical guitar, a Western guitar, a banjo, a bass guitar, a lute. Um, it's a hobby, basically. Oh yes, and tin whistles.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I need to get round. I've got some tin whistles there and I need to get round to having a blast on those.
It's a hobby that is very expensive, and it's been with me a very long time. So it absorbs far too much money, but it's certainly something I love.
Well, I'm sure that these beings, I mean, if I may, I'm just with a sense that these beings would really appreciate your music too. So, I mean, that's always, um, a very welcome offering, I found.
An interesting idea.
Yeah.
I was thinking about leaving something there, and I saw in some things there was this offering of milk,
Hmm. Yeah.
like a libation of sorts.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I don't know if that would be appropriate, but certainly the music would be possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it's something from you, then I tend to find even just,
That's a very good idea, Joe. Thank you. I had not thought of that. It was really being a bit lost for what to do. Yeah, so I was looking at what certain offerings were in the past, and I had settled upon a libation, um, like something like shamanistic, I guess.
yeah. And you could do both anyway. And I think, local produce is always very welcome. So if it's
Okay.
milk, it might be local milk, or it could be local. I don't know if they do cider there or
Oh,
what their local wine is, something that's made in the area, or what local honey is very welcome. I often, what
honey,
I've
yes, that
done.
would make sense.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, this is farming area. Um,
right. Yeah,
but it's a beautiful little Spanish village.
yeah. Well, you'll have to report back.
I will.
I'd love, if you could let us know how you get on there. And it would be great if your friend ever wanted to um, let us know what other people had seen there as
So I'll talk to her tonight. Yeah, I see her
yeah.
at 6 o'clock tonight.
Yeah,
So
it'd be really interesting to hear kind of what other people's experiences have been. We don't always see the same thing either, even if it's the same kind of presence. People sometimes see different layers of the same thing. So you have two or more people, and they'll,
that's an interesting thing. My mother was traveling along with a friend once. This is very interesting that you mentioned this because someone else had said this to me as well. We don't all see the same thing, and this is, and I said this because of a different reason. Um, my mother was a nurse in Brisbane, and she would share cars with a friend, and they would drive each other to work every now and then. And so they were coming home one morning. She did the night shift, and they'd stopped on the road. My mother was driving, I think, this day, and my mother saw what she thought was a classic 1950s UFO in front of them. And the woman that was sitting probably a meter away from her saw a bright light. Yep.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she saw like there was something there, but it was like reflecting off. And when my mother came home, she said this was must have been, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning. She said, "You'll never guess what I saw." And they'd just announced on the radio that a UFO had been spotted
Oh my goodness.
and around this particular region. So I said to her, "A UFO?" She said, "How did you know?" And yes, so you are absolutely correct. The person that was sitting right next to my mother did not see it. Well, did not see a UFO. She saw something, but it
Yeah,
wasn't a UFO.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It can happen with these types of beings as well. So you'll have a group of people or a couple of people, and one person will actually see a kind of humanoid figure,
Mhm.
and another person will just see a light or something else, a form of something like a merge of color or something like that, but it won't be the humanoid figure. So we're seeing layers, and it's a bit like we kind of practice this when we practice seeing auras. You have a room full of people, and some people in that group will see the same thing, which
Mhm.
will be, certain this, and this, and another person will see another thing. And it's like you're tuning into different etheric layers, I guess, or
Mhm.
different manifestations of the consciousness of what you are regarding. So for you, you saw these beings, I guess, in their humanoid form,
Mhm.
um, in a certain way, whereas other people might have just seen a glimpse of something or a shape of something, but might not have seen what you saw. They might have just seen an orb, which would be the energetic manifestation. It's like a condensed energy of that being, that their consciousness. So yes, this is where all the different layers come in because we are perceiving that all the time. I mean, we're always walking around and sensing the world in different ways anyway, according to our perceptual filter. What and that itself depends on, our beliefs, our experiences, what we believe to be possible,
Mhm.
our emotional state. It's that there's this kind of perceptual filter that is shifting. And that morning, it sounds like you were really opening to this world of beauty and, the bursting forth and blooming of the land
Mhm.
and
Yes.
feeling it in all its glory and meeting
Mhm.
it.
That certainly happened. That was certainly what it was. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you so much for sharing. I
Thank you for your
really,
time. Thank you for your time.
yeah,
Thank you for explaining that as well. I mean, my mother's experience. I mean, I had another person who said something differently,
Yeah.
um, and about that. Um, what had happened to me was probably the first thing that's ever been like that to happen to me.
Mm.
And, thank you for the explanation. That really was very helpful.
Thank you. Well, it's interesting to note that your mother saw it in its entirety also.
Yes,
And so
by
did
the
you.
sound of it, you're saying that they're probably the same thing in a sense.
Well, just that there's an openness
Ah,
in the way of being that's been passed down
yes.
from your mother,
Mm,
potentially, but maybe from your father too, but
mm,
certainly from your mother. She had an openness,
okay.
allowed her to see.
Mm,
Some people would say that that is something that's passed down through lineage of maybe
mm. Familial.
capacity to do that in some way, and other people would say, well, it's can be that your openness to the world, as in um, your interaction with the world around you, and how open you are to seeing something. That's a way of being that you
Okay.
learn by
That's
being in
interesting.
a family.
Yes.
So if you're brought up in a family where you're kind of encouraged to think outside the box, you're encouraged to, expect the unexpected or to see the wonder in the world, then
Mm,
that's how you grow up, and you might be more inclined to actually have an experience than somebody that is closed down from an early age and told very sort of limited, restricting ideas about the world, and also, maybe ridiculed or told off for exploring those aspects of the world if they do go and do that. So, it
mm,
sounds like maybe, your mum came home, she's like, oh, I've seen this thing, and,
mm.
she's eager to share it. And then for you, this is a possibility. So what we,
Mhm. No, that's entirely possible.
yeah, so that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, keep in touch then
I
and
will. I
let us
will.
know how you get on later in the year. Thanks again. And yeah.
Thank you very much, Joe. I wish you a lovely day.
Thanks so much for listening and watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please consider joining us on Patreon for dozens more episodes of unreleased bonus content, monthly online events, and a private chat. We are a warm, supportive community, and it really helps to support the project. Find us on patreon.com/the Modern Fairy Sightings Podcast.